But here is many beautiful things are happening, and it's happening sort of in a circle. People are meeting each other, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really curious. This event was organized by 350.org, and it's a huge, huge organization. And that's just a conversation I'd love to have at some point about like the ethics of their organizing and how they mobilize such a wide range of individuals and organizations and groups to come together. And it seems like they thought a lot of very important elements through, in particular grounding this with decolonization, with centering Indigenous women, Indigenous grandmothers kicking off the march with prayer, touching the ground, genuinely acknowledging the fact that we're all of this earth, whether we are Indigenous to this land here or not, and we need to reckon with that.
Well, we've got another guest here at the table, Dan Kalb. He is a council member, District 1 in the city of Oakland, and it's nice to have a politico come into the discussion. Welcome, Dan. What brings you down here? Not just the sunlight, I'm sure.
No. Thanks for having me. And first of all, I want to thank KPFA for their stalwart, ongoing activism, and this is just another example of that. So I appreciate all the work that you guys do. This is just one big example, today's march, of a broad coalition of folks coming together throughout the greater Bay Area, asking, demanding, requesting, showing the need to take one bold action after another to stem the climate crisis and bring us to a clean energy economy. And while we know our state government and many local governments, including Oakland and other cities, have taken some actions, and some very important actions, and that's a good thing, there's still more we need to do.
What bold actions are
left to do?
Taking along with the council in Oakland? Tell us about how bold it's getting.
Well, one thing is that we took an unusual step in this country to stop a coal terminal from being built. We're still pushing it, they're still pushing back, but we're doing whatever we can to make sure that we don't have any coal handled, stored, transloaded through Oakland. And for that matter, other ports up and down the West Coast have done the same thing, and there's efforts throughout the Bay Area at other ports to stop coal. Coal should stay in the ground. It's as simple as that. And after we succeed there, we need to make sure that we phase out petroleum production. We're not going to phase out oil use tomorrow, but we need to set a pathway to phase it out over the next number of years and decades, so we could truly have a clean energy economy, have cleaner air for all our residents, including our children, and to have a clean energy economy for the future, for our climate and for our public health. Things can happen. The state of California has taken some good action. There's more they need to do to stop fracking for oil, to phase out the production and use of oil, to go for cleaner cars, reduce vehicle miles traveled in cars. And one thing that the governor is likely to do, we hope, over the next couple of weeks, is to sign a new bill to get us to virtually 100% clean energy over the next couple decades in our wonderful state. We hope he signs that bill. There are other bills we want him to sign. We need bold action in California. Other states need to follow suit, and we need to stand up strong against the ridiculous Trump administration in the anti-environmental policies that they are spewing out day after day.
Thank you for that. So I think there's two things I'm wanting to understand, and it's partially my own naivete. So let's see. One is, can you talk about in the Bay Area, where is the coal? Where is it coming from?
Most of the coal, virtually all the coal comes from various states in the Mountain West: Utah, Wyoming, Colorado.
Right.
We don't mine coal here in
We're importing it though.
Yeah.
So what exactly is Oakland doing to stop coal?
Well, there is a proposal to build a very large export terminal owned exclusively for coal right next to the Port of Oakland.
Got it.
That would take literally 9 million tons of dirty coal from Utah a year, ship it through California, through the Bay Area, through the Oakland port, and to other countries in Asia and other parts of the world to have them burn it into our planet. And we just want to stop that. It has harmful impacts just to have coal, unprocessed coal, in an area, because the dust comes out and that causes causes problems in an area that already has a lot of problems, like West Oakland and Richmond and so on. But it also contributes to our climate crisis. So there are short-term health impacts and long-term climate impacts for 9 million tons of coal per year for over 10 years. And that we just said, forget it. We just can't have that. And we're doing whatever we can within the law to stop that from happening. And we hope we're going to be successful.
Beautiful. Dennis Bernstein here with
Kat Petru of KPFA's First Voice Apprenticeship Program.
And you're listening to their wonderful decision to live stream this event happening here at the Civic Center, downtown San Francisco, looking at the Capitol, looking at hundreds, thousands of very beautiful people who are very engaged in all kinds of things. One of the things that I love, did you notice the giraffes in the trees?
No, where?
There are giraffes, literally, in the trees. I actually saw one giraffe, and he had a little bug in his mouth.
Oh.
But I bring that up because it's a very interesting, different kind of rally than I'm used to coming and seeing here. It's not authoritarian in the sense that there are 10 leaders and everybody else sort of following orders. Everybody is a part of this movement. Everybody has to be a part of a movement that's meant to save the environment. It just can't be a few people at the top. So it's a beautiful event here, and this live streaming from the apprenticeship program is a beautiful way to cover this kind of alternative rally, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'm really grateful, and shout out to Frank Sterling, one of our directors, for making this happen. Do we have someone coming up next? Do we have someone on deck? Thank you so much to Dan Kalb, by the way, who we just spoke with, City Council member from Oakland District 1. We do have, it looks like, at least one, maybe two guests.
I think we've got two folks coming on in.
We have...
Why don't you tell us who we have?
They're going to go back and forth with translation.
Thank you to Ephraim, one of our producers right now. They're going to go back and forth in translation. Oh, fabulous. Okay, so then, can you just please introduce yourselves?
Well, sure. My name is Moira Burse. I'm with Amazon Watch. We work with indigenous communities in the Amazon Basin. And I will be interpreting for Yaku, who I'll ask to introduce himself.
Beautiful. Maybe we can just begin. Maybe he could tell us a little bit about where he's from and why he's here now.
Oh, Spanish.
¿Por qué está acá y por qué vino? ¿Qué quiere hacer mientras esté?
Mi nombre es Yaku Viteri. Soy del pueblo quichua originario de Sarayaku, de la Amazonía ecuatoriana. Estamos aquí porque nos convoca la humanidad y como pueblos indígenas estamos preocupados del problema del cambio climático y consideramos que los pueblos indígenas tenemos alternativas a este problema.
So my name is Yaku Vitere, and I am from the Quichua people of Sarayaku in the Ecuadorian Amazon. We are here because humanity is calling us to be here. We as indigenous peoples are very worried about climate change, and we as indigenous peoples have solutions to climate change that we need to share with the world.
Tell us about some of the pressing problems. What's urgent now? Why is this a life and death situation?
Si nos puede contar por qué es tan urgente este tema, por qué urge tanto buscar soluciones a este problema.
Porque el problema no es solamente en territorios indígenas, el problema es global, el problema es del planeta. Entonces, si los gobiernos no se preocupan de cómo darle solución, entonces los pueblos nos hemos preocupado. Y es por eso que estamos aquí y creo que es hora de hacer conciencia entre la humanidad y también hacer conciencia a los gobiernos y a los países que están en desarrollo, quienes son los responsables del problema del cambio climático.
So we're here, and this is so urgent because we've realized that this isn't just an issue for indigenous peoples. This is a global problem. It's a problem for all of humanity. And if governments aren't being concerned about this, then we need to tell them why they must be concerned about it. And we need to show them the solutions that we as Indigenous peoples can have come up with. That's why we're here. We believe that now is the time to raise consciousness for all of humanity, and to make sure that governments, and particularly governments of developed countries who are the ones responsible for climate change, take real action.
I just hit the mic. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for being here and for what you're sharing. So I appreciate the way you're holding these governments accountable and these developed countries accountable. That's so necessary, and we have to do that as well on the ground here. I would love to hear about the solutions that you speak of.
Muchas gracias por lo que ha dicho, y estoy muy de acuerdo que tenemos que pedir a los gobiernos que rindan cuentas y que tomen acciones concretas. Y también aquí en estos países tenemos que hacer lo mismo. Entonces quisiera que hablara sobre las soluciones que ustedes tienen.
Muchos estados en Latinoamérica y muchos gobiernos de Europa hablan de que van a dar la solución a este problema. Pero sin embargo, en nuestro país la realidad es que quienes están incursionando los territorios son las empresas petroleras, las empresas mineras en nuestro territorio. Los discursos de estos gobiernos es que quieren solucionar el problema del cambio climático, pero a la vez están metiendo a empresas petroleras y mineras en territorios indígenas. Por eso nosotros
So the Latin American governments and European governments and US governments say they have solutions for climate change. But what we're seeing, for example, in our country, is that at the same time these governments are allowing transnational corporations, mining companies, oil companies, to come in and exploit our territory in the rainforest. And though these governments have a beautiful discourse, good talking points about fighting climate change, they're allowing this kind of thing to happen in the Amazon rainforest and around the world.
Son mentirosos.
sí, engañan,
They're liars.
engañan mucho. Y esa realidad vivimos en Ecuador. Es por eso que Sarayaku tiene una propuesta que se le llama Causaxacha, selva viviente. Una propuesta verdaderamente de conservar nuestro territorio, de conservar el medio ambiente. ¿Y cómo lo vamos a conservar? Dejando el petróleo bajo tierra. Y vemos que la selva, Causaxacha, es un sujeto de derecho. Todos los seres que habitan en la selva tienen derecho. El agua, las montañas, los seres protectores, el árbol, las lagunas, tienen derecho. Es por eso que desde la visión, desde la filosofía quichua amazónica, estamos planteando esta propuesta de conservación de nuestro territorio y de nuestro Causaxacha, selva viviente.
Yes, you're very right. These governments trick us. And so that's why we, the Quichua people of Sariaku, have created a proposal, a concrete proposal that we call Causaxacha, which means living forest. And it's a proposal for conserving, for protecting our territory and for protecting the environment. And the basis for that is keeping the oil in the ground. We see that the forest should be and is a bearer of rights, that it should have its own rights for protection. And that all the beings of the forest, from the mountains to the birds, to the trees, to the lakes, those are also living beings that deserve to have rights and be protected. And this comes from our Quichua philosophy that we've created over thousands of years of living in the Amazon rainforest. And so that's our proposal for the world, Causaxacha, living forest.
We all have heard about the plight of Berta Cáceres in Honduras and how dangerous it is to resist these folks who want to put up big dam projects and want to take over the country and sort of turn all these countries into free trade zones. Is it dangerous? Are you putting yourself at risk when you resist these kinds of actions and these corporate polluters in your country? How dangerous is it?
So we've heard a lot, for example, about Berta Cáceres, who... Sorry about that. I'm translating it from English to English. Hemos escuchado de Berta Cáceres, a quien mataron por liderar su pueblo en resistir una hidroeléctrica. Y entonces quiero saber si también en su país es peligroso, corren riesgo por luchar para proteger su territorio, por luchar contra estas empresas. ¿Es peligroso?
Sí, desde inicios de la lucha del pueblo sarayaku y del sector indígena siempre ha habido persecución y criminalización por parte de los estados. Y actualmente sí, tenemos compañeras líderes que sí están amenazadas, perseguidas, y sabemos la historia de Berta Cáceres. Entonces, también hemos hecho denuncias a nivel nacional, a nivel internacional, que estas lideresas y líderes sean protegidos. Entonces, sí es realidad que muchos líderes y lideresas están perseguidos por los gobiernos por defender sus derechos, por defender su territorio, por defender a su pueblo, por defender una forma, una nueva visión de vivir. Entonces, sí es una realidad en la actualidad, las amenazas que existen.
Yes, we've definitely suffered threats and attacks from the beginning of our fight to protect our territory. States have gone after and governments have gone after our leaders, and that's something that's happening now too. Many of the leaders of our community, many of whom are women, have been threatened and criminalized because of their leadership. And we know the case of Berta Cáceres, and we know what the consequences can be. So we, at the national level and at the international, we have denounced the attacks against us, the criminalization against us, and we've asked the governments to protect our leaders. And we have spoken out about the importance of protecting leaders who are doing nothing more than defending their rights, defending their territory, defending their people. And we believe this is so important because of the vision that we have for the protection of all life.
Thank you very much. We are just about to wrap up. If you could answer briefly how you are working to build solidarity. You mentioned many women have been murdered. So how within amongst your people and amongst different tribes, how are you building more and more solidarity in this effort?
Bueno, estamos a punto de terminar, entonces si se puede responder rápidamente, cómo están intentando construir solidaridad tanto dentro de su comunidad como con otros pueblos indígenas y teniendo en cuenta de que muchas lideresas están corriendo riesgo por ese trabajo.
Por eso estamos acá. Creemos de que la solidaridad tiene que ser a nivel universal, tener aliados internacionales y juntos luchar, hacer fuerza, buscar estrategias de solución. Y por eso estamos aquí, y eso es lo que estamos construyendo en estos eventos internacionales, de construir una fuerza universal para salvar la humanidad.
That's precisely why we are here, to build solidarity, and we believe that solidarity needs to be universal. It needs to be at the local level and at the international level, and that together we're building and promoting solutions. So that's why we're here today in these events, in order to build unified and collective strength together.
Muchas gracias. Thank you to Yaku Viteri of the Quechua people of Sara Yaku in the Ecuadorian Amazon, and Moira Burse, our translator with Amazon Watch. Thank you so much to you both.
Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a short musical break, and then we will be back with more from City Hall, where there are thousands of folks who have gathered. There are many organizations represented here speaking up for the environment. There is painting going on all around us with environmental themes. Many booths, many people celebrating, actively celebrating to save the environment. We take a short break and we'll be back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to KPFA live stream here from the Rise for Climate Action March in San Francisco Civic Center, occupied Ohlone territory, Huichin. My name's Kat Petru. I'm with KPFA's First Voice Apprenticeship Program, and I am thrilled to be joined by Dennis Bernstein of Flashpoints. And you just heard Mama by Audio Pharmacy, featuring KPFA's own Ross Kadee. And Dennis, do you want to say anything before we introduce our guest?
No, I'm good. I can't wait to see what our next guest has to say about all this.
We are joined by Sister Kate, last name please? Sister Kate Musin,
Yes.
with Sisters of the Valley from the Central Valley, California. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about Sisters of the Valley. Sisters of the Valley.
Sisters of the Valley is a new age group of spiritual women who identify with our ancient mothers from the castles of Europe. Before this Inquisition, before religions that honored Mother Earth were wiped off the planet, there were the Beguines, and they grew hemp, and they were the first holistic nurses in the castle of Europe. So we are, even though we have some ex-Catholic nuns with us, we are not affiliated with any man-made religion. We're a group of women who lives together on a farm. We support ourselves by growing cannabis and making cannabis products that we ship around the world. And we hope to have weed nuns in every country of the world in the next 20 years.
Wow, there's so much for me to digest in what you just shared. Do you want to jump in, Dennis?
Oh, I don't know if you could digest it with edibles. You'd probably do a better job on the interview.
I tell you what, I'll help you because I think I know what your people care about. We don't go on bended knee. We're not really much into prayer. We find prayer to be like begging and meditation to be like manifesting. So the only time you find us on our knees is when we're trimming our pot plants. We have new moon ceremonies, which are for the women, full moon ceremonies for the tribe. We go vegan on a new moon. I say that loosely because they cheat and we don't force it, but we're supposed to be vegan new moon to full moon. The reason for that is that's when we make our medicines. We organize our lives by the cycles of the moon to keep planet Earth in the middle of all of our thinking. We put our medicines up on a new moon, we close out a batch on a full moon, and we organize our lives by the cycles of the moon on purpose, again, to keep all of our thoughts on Mother Earth. Our vows are for living simply. Our vow, we always say we can't own a yacht, but if you do, we'll come ride on it with you. We have a vow of obedience to organizing our lives by the cycle of the moon, a vow of living simply, activism, chastity, which is privatizing our sexuality, and ecology. Those are our vows.
You know, many people had hopes in the rollout of the cannabis, the legalized cannabis industry here in California, and I've spoken to a lot of cannabis farmers who thought that they were going to help set an example for an organic way to do farming, to sort of rescue that whole art form of growing back from the corporate interests that cover us with chemistry, make us all sick, along with the earth. Do you see cannabis as having the possibility, given it does sort of have a spiritual underpinning? Could you talk about the role that maybe cannabis could play in
Yes, absolutely. We believe that we've got in every country now, because we have officials reaching out to us from the Philippines and from Nigeria. Every country in the world has an opiate problem that was created by our pharmacies. So we've poisoned our people and we've poisoned the planet. And the only way to turn back is with cannabis and hemp. The cannabis will heal the people, the hemp will heal the planet, and we are activists out to get that message out there. Unfortunately, we don't think that as long as men are running things, we're not going to make the progress. So we're here to midwife in the matriarchy, because we believe when women start occupying offices, the trashing of the planet will stop.
We have to say goodbye, but what about also the engaging the youth and the young people? I would think that they have to
The youth are our hope. Oh my God, we couldn't make any progress with guns in this country, and look what they're doing. The youth are our hope, and it is amazing to see them here today. It makes us cry because really at this point we're praying for more old folks to die and more young folks to take over.
Well, I'm in the old folks.
I'm sorry, we're not directly praying for you to die, but you know who I meant. You know exactly who I meant.
But I am glad that you would join us, Sister Kate. Obviously, there's a lot to learn from the example that you're setting. We thank you for joining us. You are listening to a special broadcast coming from downtown San Francisco. Dennis here with Kat. This is the apprenticeship program doing the amazing live streaming of an incredibly important event here. And well, that was interesting, wasn't it?
That was so...
What did you learn there?
I just find it so fascinating because I do see this desire for folks of European descent to get back to certain roots, and also how does solidarity play a role, and what about the legal structure and the criminalization going on with cannabis? So there's a lot of questions, but it's really interesting.
Well, we've got Kat, we've got two folks at the table who have a lot to say about all this. Garrett Blod, he is with the Sunrise Movement, young people fighting against climate change, and also joining us is Tiana Arredondo. We have met before. In fact, didn't I see you on the Flashpoint show last night?
Yes.
Well, it's good to have you with us. Both of you, welcome. I'm here with Kat. We're honored to have you here on this beautiful day. And so what have you been doing today? Let me start with you, Garrett. What have you been up to?
Well, I've been here just, first of all, taking in the beautiful art and a diversity of humans that are out today. It's just so stunning, especially on a sunny day here in San Francisco. So I've been taking in that energy. And I've also been supporting a bunch of young people who are here, who are part of the new generation of leaders that's looking to create lasting political change in this country. Sunrise Movement, the group that I volunteer with, is looking to take the frustration that we feel as young people over the past 40 years of climate inaction in this country and fuel that into a political force that can make climate change an urgent political priority for the first time in this country.
And do you want to, Tiana, talk a little bit about a motivating force, what's got you here, and the work you've been engaged with, which is some pretty important work?
Sure. Thank you so much for asking. Yeah, I am so grateful to be here and just supporting other peers and youth in organizing. We've spent so much time and so much love and energy creating patches and signs. We have an art garden not too far off to the side behind us where we're actually selling giant posters that clearly detail the history of our country and how we got here and what we need. And yeah, I'm just really grateful to be here educating and supporting all of us in this journey together.
Oh, wow. Hello. So Tiana, you're with Sustain Us. That's the name of the organization. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, so Sustain Us works internationally and nationally to mobilize and politicize youth at huge moments in history regarding climate justice. We work to educate and engage people at these events and in these huge times in history so that they can become more aware of what we need for lasting change in our planet.
So both of you work with young people. Can you give me a general range of what that means? Who are youth right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Sunrise works with young people to create political change. So we definitely work with young people below 18, but we see people who can vote as a really clear demographic for us. So we work with young people from 18 all the way up till mid to late 20s.
And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, at Sustain Us, we also work with high school youth all the way up to mid 20s as well.
Okay, so my question then is, what have you all learned? Well, two questions. One is, how long have you been doing it? And in that time, what have you learned from these young people?
I've been a part of the youth climate movement for the past 5 years or so. I got involved during the fossil fuel divestment movement that started on college campuses about 6 years ago. And since then, I've been inspired at the energy and persistence that young people have now that I'm 26 now and I'm kind of the later stages of the youth movement. I now see these spaces as spaces of energy and places where I'm continually revitalized. And I'm really inspired right now at the young people who see the political system as a place for engagement. I think we are told that young people are disengaged from the political stage, that we've, kind of shrugged off politics, but right now we are seeing young people really engage in a strong way.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I've been involved in this work since I was a young child. Actually, my father was killed due to radioactive externalities at a warehouse he was working at. And so from that phase of my life onward, I've been involved from air quality, water quality, redlining, affordable housing, you name it, been in the meetings, been assisting to make clear this is tangible, real things that need to happen really soon and that we all have a part in this.
You said your dad was killed. Could you please say a little bit more about that? What did you...
Yeah. He was working in a packing house, and the radioactive chemicals actually seeped into his body in so many ways, and he died slowly over 8 years because of that, and it was solely because of the air quality that he grew up in and exactly what he experienced in that literal space that was also not very far from where we lived and affected thousands of people were affected.
What company?
Oh, I'd rather not speak directly to that just because of there was actual cases and stuff around that, but I bring that up because I think that many times when we talk about this, people are here, they're here, which is what matters, but we need to understand this is tangible and people are dying and people need resources immediately, whether that's you taking up space as a human or you donating time or money to make sure that people are understanding there are families and lives at risk and potentially yours as well if we do not save this planet. So.
Thank you both so much for sharing what you did. Sustain Us is the organization that Tiana Arredondo is with, and Garrett Blad is with Sunrise Movement. Look them up. They're doing incredible work. Their shirts, by the way, say "Give Us Free," and something about no new fossil fuels, Brown's last chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, it's funny how people just sort of throw in a fact,
right?
That her dad was a victim of this vicious industry, and here now she is an environmental activist, a young woman who fights in the context of the suffering that her father was forced to endure. And again, so many people have been affected. We don't hear their stories very often, but tens of thousands of folks. This started in the 50s and it continues all the way to the current moment. That in order to have these chemical industries, these oil industries, these weapons industries, people die, real people die, and it's amazing to see the daughter of one of those victims getting active.
Indeed. Thank you for making that point and for following up with her on it. Yeah, so in front of us we have two bright faces. We have, I want to make sure I'm saying your names right. Is it Lucci?
Lucy.
Lucy.
Yeah.
Why don't you just introduce yourselves, both of you, please?
Hi, my name is Lucy Pachkowski, and I'm a junior, and I'm a co-founder of the youth grassroots organization Generation Our Climate.
I'm Milo Wetherall, and I'm one of the other co-founders of the youth grassroots organization Generation Our Climate.
And when she says junior, I think you mean junior in high school,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So Generation Our Climate, talk about it. What is it? What do you do?
So basically, we founded this organization as freshmen in order to get youth involved in activism through climate change. And so what we do is we go to local legislative bodies and we testify and we try to get policies changed that affect local communities.
Mm-hmm. So we found that the youth of this country and the youth of the world are going to be the generation that is most directly impacted by climate change and the effects that it has. We will be the people in the next 20, 30, 50 years who will be paying with our lives and with our money and for the cost of climate change, whether it's the destruction of our homes or just trying to rebuild after huge environmental disasters. And so we realized that the only way to get true comprehensive action on climate change is through government, but we can't yet vote. I'm 16, so we decided that the best way to get the youth voice heard is to show up at government, because while we can't vote, there's no law that says youth can't show up at government and say, you should listen to this is really important. I mean, there's no true avenue for the youth of this country to engage with our government or to engage politically. I mean, I can't run for office yet, but so by testifying, we're able to tell the government, you need to listen to this, because you're not just damaging the environment now, you're damaging it 20, 30, 50, 100 years in the future.
And we are the generation that has to clean it up and pay for it and really live with those damages. So it's important that we start now to make a huge impact on our world before it's too late.
How did you both get started? You young people, juniors in high school, you said you're 16. How did it begin for you? Just so we can get a clue to engage, how to engage other young people.
So basically, with me, it started with the 2016 presidential election, and I was involved in the Women's March and different groups with that. And then I met Milo, and he was introduced to this guy named Daniel Haggerty, and he was at this climate summit, and we kind of just clicked and decided that we were going to go and make a change. And so far, we've testified at the EPA branch in California about their water regulations, the Bay Area Quality Management Board, and we've also been involved in planning the Zero Hour Bay Area March. And so that was a huge job for us this July, but it was great. We had a huge turnout, and it was great to be involved with this huge global network of kids that really, really cared.
So do you talk it up at school? Because I can't believe that everybody thinks they're going to just jump on this bed and we're going to join you. It must be a bit of a discussion. Don't you have some folks who say, that's a bunch of crap, we're not interested, we don't care, we'd rather play these games?
Yeah, so we found that like a lot of adults and a lot of kids our age have this notion that like, oh, I'm too busy to get engaged. Well, I mean, we both go to high school, take AP courses, that kind of thing. Our schedules are busy, but with the situation like this, you have to make time for it because the climate's gonna keep heating up. It's not gonna stop and wait for us to take action, so we have to take action now.
So this is just the beginning for both of you, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for doing this, and please don't ever stop. We've been talking with Lucy and Milo of Generation Our Climate. Do you all have a website, by the way?
We do. It needs to be a little bit refined, but it's just generationourclimate.org. Yeah. So thank you for having us. It was great talking with you.
Beautiful. Keep it up.
Generationourclimate.org. Thank you both so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And Dennis Bernstein here with Kat. We've got folks who are going to be joining us here as we stare up at the Capitol in San Francisco. And we are looking at thousands of folks who are engaged in all kinds of activities that have to do with saving the environment. And why don't you tell us, Kat, who's joining us next?
Yes, thanks, Dennis. Saving the environment, fighting for our very survival. We have Osprey Oriel Lake with the Women's Earth and Climate Action Network, or We Can.
That's right.
So please tell us about what you do.
Yes, we are an organization that works with women on the front lines of climate change in countries around the world. And the reason we're doing this is that studies from the United Nations and many others show that women are impacted first and worst by climate change, and yet they're indispensable to solutions. And this is really the time of women rising from Alaska to the Amazon, from India to the Democratic Republic of Congo. We're seeing women really being the backbone of a lot of these fossil fuel resistance movements, as well as on-the-ground solutions. And so we're really trying to lift up the profile of women at the march and throughout the week, because we know that it's one of the untold stories of climate change is the role of women.
Thank you. Did you want to?
No, I'm just wondering, we've been talking a lot about today's protest and march and how it's a bit different because, I'm sure you've been to a bunch of marches and protests in your life, right? But usually it's a crowd of about, a whole bunch of people looking up at a stage, and 6 people give great speeches and then everybody goes home. But here it seems like everybody's participating. We see young people painting on the ground and all kinds of booths, and it's sort of everybody talking to everybody. You think that's an important way to go at this?
Absolutely. I think, one of the things that we're seeing in the climate justice movement over the years is that we're really democratizing and decentralizing the power, which is the example of what we think we need to do in our energy systems as well, as have energy democracy. We want to see equality. We want to see the end of racism, colonization, our patriarchal institutions, the way we have our capitalistic structures. And so one way to model how to move out of those structures is to demonstrate what we're doing here, which is really a very democratic demonstration of many different groups uniting together.
Can you tell us about some of the women in your life who you see as, who have inspired you, who have inspired We Can, Women's Earth and Climate Action Network? What are the women doing?
Well, some of the women that inspire me the most are the frontline women who are protecting and defending their lands from fossil fuel extraction or fossil fuel infrastructure. We're really honored to work with, as an example, Michelle Cook, who is the founder of the Divest, Invest, Protect campaign, which is really working on divestment to get banks to divest from fossil fuels and to quit giving money to corporations to build across indigenous lands and territories. And I think this is really vital work. Right now we have a very powerful sister, Sherry Foytland, who's down fighting the Bayou Bridge pipeline, literally with their bodies, trying to stop that pipeline going through. So I'm very inspired by a lot of women from many different countries who are really calling it out for what it is, which is that we have to defend our land, our water, our climate, and really demonstrating that we have solutions, and we also need to stop the fossil fuel industry so these solutions have an opportunity to thrive and grow in our communities.
Do you see there's now a movement towards creating public banks? Because now we always see around, I look around, I see Wells Fargo, whatever, we see predator banks. Is it important to begin to think about the financial structure and the way in which there can be an alternative economy financed by banks that are not owned by people who want to destroy the planet for the profit motive?
I couldn't agree more. I think it's not the only component, but I think one of the biggest components of our climate justice movements now is around the financial sector and the fact that we need to be able to have public banks. We also need to look at the unethical practices of banks and hold them accountable and to have justice with them in terms of financing the fossil fuel industry. I think we also need to look at our capitalistic structures and understand that the economy that we're in right now is one based on endless economic growth on a finite planet, and that's not working. And I would suggest we look to our indigenous allies who have put forward concepts like Buen Vivir, Living Well, Sumak Kalsai, which are all these ideas about how we can have development without physical growth and economic growth, but more internal growth, growth in creativity, growth in education, growth in ethics. And we need to really have a very different system because the system we're on is not working. And we really are saying communities first, not corporations.
Thank you to Osprey Oria Lake from Women's Earth and Climate Action. Folks can check that out. Thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll talk more about those banks.
All right. A shout out, by the way, to Mothers Out Front. Mothers Out Front, ca.mothersoutfront.org. They brought 200 folks to the march from Woodland, San Jose, the Peninsula, North Bay, and San Francisco. Thank you so much for all the incredible work that you're doing.
Well, we've got two more young folks sitting at the microphone. Let me ask both of you to introduce yourselves. Start with you and work over.
Hi, my name is Naya Tisdale. I'm 17 years old, and I go to UC Berkeley, and my major as of right now is environmental science.
Hi, my name is Jacob Dadman. I'm also 17. I'm also a freshman at Berkeley, and my major is society and environment.
So what have you been doing to protect the environment?
So as of now, I got to Berkeley, and I am so excited because I joined so many clubs. Like I joined Environmental Science Student Association and CIRCA, and I'm trying to get involved with as many clubs as I can and organize events such as this one in order to gain more practice in these types of movements because it really inspires me.
Mm-hmm. So Naya, myself, and two other people, Carol and Marissa, are all students at Berkeley, and we designed one of the medallions that's currently it's on Grove Street.
Yeah.
What are these medallions?
So they're part of the broader street mural that is part of this march, and ours it has a lot of Berkeley and sort of symbols on it. It has a book that's on a seal. It has Fiat Lux. It has some California symbols, the Golden Gates and California poppies. So it's broadly it's about environment in California and the good that we can do in that arena.
Yeah, we both designed. Oh, sorry. No. Me and Jacob and our other two fellow students, we designed it with our professor Kurt Spryer because we were all in ESPM 50AC, which is the Culture and Natural Resources course, and we just sat down with him and we designed it, and it was really nice.
What do you in that class, what's your understanding of that connection between culture and the quote natural environment? Because not everyone even understands those to be separate, right?
Yeah, everyone thinks that. So we're talking about now is how nature and society are separate, or quote unquote. But what we need to realize is that we are one with nature, and that we need to take steps in order to preserve nature and to help the environment, to build both the environment up and us as a people, because that's the only way that we're going to progress further, is to accept the fact that we are one with the environment.
And broadly, it's American environmental history, the class, and right now we're doing a really deep dive into Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're learning about is how when we take a sort of instrumentalist view, when we think that we can just do whatever we want with nature, it comes back to bite us in the end. And in this case, it's oftentimes poor people and people of color who get the worst of it.
Yeah, and
go on.
And on our medallion, we have 3/5 to symbolize every type of race coming together to resist against people who don't believe in climate change, or just so that to show that we need to come together as one to further this cause.
I want to ask both of you, are you unique in this commitment, or are there a lot of young people who you go to school with, who you go to classes with, who are interested, or they just think, really, leave us alone with that stuff. We got other things to do. We got to get A's in our classes. We got to make a lot of money. We got to get into the future. We got to look out for ourselves. What's your response to that?
I think that coming to Berkeley, I met a lot of people like me that, like I met Jacob, and we both have the same interests. We want to further the sustainability and those types of things. And so I think that this opportunity to come and make a mural for the Rise event really made the people who really care stand out. And I think that, like, when we first were designing our mural, our medallion, it started out with 10 of us, and then it just like trickled off and into 4 of us. So I think that events like this really show who really cares truly.
Yeah, and
what about those folks who don't seem to care, or think, give me a break with the environmental stuff? Is there a discussion going on?
I mean, I would say that, I think there is a discussion going on. There is a lot of debate. But I would say that, for young people like ourselves, talking about climate change and trying to solve climate change is an issue of self-interest and of, self-help, because we are going to be the generation who grows up in a drastically changing climate, and our children are going to be growing up in an even more changing
goes on
climate.
and on.
Yeah, and so, we are the ones who need to fix it, or else we're going to be the ones who have the consequences. So that's what I would say to a young person who is disinterested. But I don't think there are that many of them, especially at Berkeley. There's so many people who are so much more intelligent and so much more engaged than myself. It's really incredible to watch.
Beautiful.
Yeah. A teacher of mine reminds me about this quote that basically sums up as, your liberation is bound up in mine. And so that's something that I think can strengthen the way that we all do the organizing. We have to wrap it up. Okay. Where are you both from? I'm curious.
I'm coming from the San Fernando Valley, just in Southern California.
I'm from San Diego.
Okay, cool. So you'll probably keep taking this work from Berkeley back to your communities, back and forth, and spreading it like seeds around the world, right?
Yes,
yes.
Of course.
Thank you both so much for being here. Again, that was Naya and Jacob.
No GMO seeds.
No right.
No.
What are they called? Heirloom seeds. Yeah. Native seeds.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for having
us.
Thank
you so much.
Naya and Jacob from UC Berkeley.
Take a musical break. Yes.
Thank you.
I think
we're wrapping up.
Time for our closing credits. We're wrapping up. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful day here at the Rise for Climate Action for Jobs and Justice in San Francisco, in front of the giant monolith of the City Hall here.
Oh, that's City Hall. That's what it is.
Or I don't know. It's City Hall. I've been one of your hosts, Kat Petru, and I'm joined with...
This is Dennis Bernstein. What an honor to be here with the apprenticeship program. We've got some folks here that we want to thank, right?
Yeah, we do. We have Free Will and Frank Sterling, who's been our executive producer for the day. Yeah, Frank. John Perales, our videographer, Ephraim Colbert, our line producer, Arya Moshirian, who provided much-needed transportation, Ms. M, our engineer, Shanice Smith, Theodora Atkins, Shaquille Stewart, Hannah Wilson, and Steve Grevious, our PAs. I don't know.
That's all right. He did good stuff.
Our assistants, tech assistants for the day, Marie Choi, they were all our line producers. Our hosts for the first hour were Andre Soto, who you can hear on KPFA on Thursdays at 3, I want to say, and Sharon Peterson of First Voice Apprenticeship Group 43, Jarlongso Rising. Thanks so much for tuning in.
And you can hear Flashpoints every day at 5 o'clock on KPFA Pacifica Radio. And stay tuned.
Stay tuned. You can find more on kpfa.org and kpfaapprentice.org.
The apprentices are the heart of the matter when it comes to the future. We thank them for being at KPFA and for all the incredible programming they do. Thanks, Frank, for that as well.